In 1994, Speed exploded onto the big screen and catapulted Keanu Reeves as a big-time action star, a status that would pave the way for him to star in other big action movies such as The Matrix and John Wick. Speed tells the story of a disgruntled former cop, Howard Payne, played with menacing delight by Dennis Hopper, who felt cheated by his retirement settlements and wants the city to pay up. So after one failed attempt of money extortion involving wiring a lift with a bomb, Payne rigs up an LA bus with a heap of TNT, which will explode if the bus goes under 50 miles per hour, and will also explode if Payne's demands for money aren't met. Young FBI agent Jack Travis, played by Reeves, whom stopped Payne's elevator bomb scheme, gets instructed by Payne to enter the bus, but is also instructed that no one else can enter or leave the bus or it will explode. On board the bus, unlikely passenger turned bus driver Annie, played by Sandra Bullock, takes the wheel of the bus and under the support and instructions of Jack tries to keep it above 50, while also trying to cause as little damage as possible as it plummets its way through LA, while Jack's partner Harry, played by Jeff Bridges, try to uncover exactly who the bomber is in this fun, fast, action-packed movie spectacle. So get ready for a pop quiz hot shots as we look into 10 things that you probably didn't know about Speed. So sit back and buckle up as things are about to get out of control as we do this.
Pop quiz, hotshot. There's a bomb on a bus. What do you do? What do you do?
Number 10. Number of buses used for the movie. Most of the movie Speed takes place on a bus, in which we see the Annie character take to the wheel, with many bus stunts and action sequences taking place. In order to accommodate for Speed's action set pieces, a total of 10 buses were used while making the movie. These were special buses with 2 steering wheels, one for Sandra Bullock to make it look like she's driving, and another steering wheel in which a stunt driver was actually driving the bus, in which the stunt drivers were often driving the bus from the roof. Weird, hey? Speaking of which, that scene where the bus makes that massive jump over the hole in the road wasn't in the script, but it was added because director Jan de Bont had the idea pop in his head and thought it would look cool. Number 9. Inspiration for Speed. Writer Graham Yost got inspiration from Speed from the 1985 movie Runaway Train. The film starred actor Jon Voight and tells the story of 2 convicts stuck on a runaway train charging its way through Alaska. The movie was nominated for 2 Academy Awards and is generally considered one of the better movies from the Cannon Film Group. It was one night while Graham Yost's father was telling him about the movie Runaway Train and got confused as while he was explaining the movie to his son, he explained to him that the movie Runaway Train involves a bomb on board a train. When Yost actually saw the movie Runaway Train, he clearly saw that there was no bomb on the train, but then thought that the movie actually would have been more exciting if there was. And thus this got the gears turning in his head to write Speed. Number 8. A speedy search for a director. Speed is directed by filmmaker Jan de Bont, but the story of how he came to work on Speed is a somewhat interesting one. Scriptwriter Graham Yost took his Speed script to Paramount Pictures, who were interested in the movie, and their choice for directing the movie was director John McTiernan, who was an action movie pro at the time thanks to directing the original Predator and Die Hard. But McTiernan thought that the movie was a bit too similar to Die Hard, what with it being about a one-man war against greed-fueled villainy. So McTiernan suggested Jan de Bont as director. De Bont had previously worked as a cinematographer on Die Hard for McTiernan, as well as being the cinematographer for other movies such as Cujo, The Hunt for Red October, Flatliners and Lethal Weapon 3, so clearly he knew a thing or two about fast-paced action movies. However, Paramount Pictures then got cold feet, thinking that no one would want to see a 2-hour movie set on a bus, and pulled out of making Speed. So Yost and de Bont took the idea to 20th Century Fox, who greenlit the project. Provided some changes being made to the script though. But more on that later.
And Speed must have been seen by all the right people, as 2 years later, Jan de Bont ended up directing the Spielberg-produced tornado movie, Twister.
Number 7. Tragedy Strikes. It was during the early days of filming Speed in 1993 that Keanu Reeves' real-life best friend River Phoenix had sadly passed away. Director Jan de Bont explains that the passing greatly affected Reeves as he became very quiet and subdued on the set, and even started to fear and question his own mortality. So to ease Reeves into the movie at a comfortable rate, rather than throwing him at the deep end at a time when he was emotionally struggling and vulnerable, de Bont filmed scenes that weren't too intense to film. More simpler moments in the movie. Reeves was always a professional on the set, and as time went on, Reeves fully committed himself into the part, even performing most of his own stunts.
Wow, a director who generally cares about his actor and even adjusts the shoot around his emotional well-being. Now that's something you don't hear about too often.
Number 6. Sandra Bullock went all out for her role. So in Speed, Sandra Bullock plays the part of passenger turned bus driver turned love interest Annie, making it an early role for the actress. However, in order to train herself up for the part, Bullock actually learned how to drive a bus and even took a bus driving course and passed her test. Now, if that's not commitment to an acting role, then I don't know what is. Dennis Hopper also went all out in the name of Speed and hosted the movie's making of featurette, where he plays himself at a bus stop waiting for a bus, and the special totally should have had Forrest Gump sitting with him. You know, just saying. I remember watching it as a kid and finding it fascinating how Hooper seemed to be complaining about the movie at the start of the show, and how making the movie just seemed to put him at his wit's end.
This film I just finished, Speed, something about making that movie just put me over the edge. Me.
Yeah, from when I was 10 to now, I still don't know whether he was acting or not. Who knows, maybe he was just frustrated and let it rip when they rolled the cameras and they thought, hey, this looks funny, let's just leave it in. And so they rolled with it.
Number 5. The production ran out of money. Yep, despite the fact that Speed is a big action spectacle full of stunts, explosions, and special effects, the worst thing that could happen to such a movie production did indeed happen, as the movie ran out of money. By the time the movie was scheduled to be screened for test audiences, Speed wasn't even completed, with scenes missing that just couldn't be shot due to the fact that the budget had run out. For example, in an early cut of the movie, the subway scene hadn't been filmed and was made up of animated storyboards. But thankfully, more money was thrown at the production thanks to the movie test screening, which brings me to my next point. Number 4. Speed had an awesome test screening. Often when I talk about test screenings in this show, I talk about how disastrous the test screenings can often be, and that how for better or worse often cause changes to the movie, and can even make or break a film. But finally a happy story related to a test screening. As in Speed's test screening, the audience was so invested in the movie, according to a 20th Century Fox executive, when members of the audience went on bathroom breaks, they were literally walking backwards really slowly so they could still see the screen on their journey and miss as little of the movie as possible. Now that's quite an impressive reaction considering the movie wasn't even completed when the film was first tested, and that the subway scene as mentioned was made up of animated storyboards. And this was a sign that Fox knew that it had a hit with Speed, which it was, as it did very well both critically and commercially, owning $350 million on a $30 million budget, and even winning 2 Academy Awards for sound editing and sound mixing, along with a BAFTA also for its sound achievements.
Why not? I guess people really loved the sound of Speed.
Number 3. It wouldn't be a minty video without casting possibilities. The original choice for Jack Travis was Stephen Baldwin, but he turned down the part thinking the role was too similar to John McClane, so he went on to star in Biodome instead, to which we can only hope that he then fired his casting agent. Other potential choices for Jack Travis include Wesley Snipes, Tom Cruise, Tom Hanks, and Woody Harrelson. But director Jan de Bont cast Keanu Reeves in the role after seeing him in Point Break, as he liked Reeves' vulnerability he displayed on the screen, despite the fact that, like in Speed, he played an FBI agent in that movie too. And yes, there are lots of jokes around about Keanu Reeves' acting being somewhat wooden, which I think has thankfully toned down post-John Wick era.
But if you watch movies like Point Break and Speed, you would see that he brings something very human to the parts.
It was also Keanu Reeves' idea to give his character an almost shaved head haircut, which apparently shocked everyone on set when he turned up on set without his famous locks. As for the role of Annie, the part was originally written as an off-duty paramedic, and Halle Berry was offered the role but she turned it down. It was then decided to make the character a more comedic comic relief sidekick character, along with making her a driving instructor to add extra comical shenanigans, to which Ellen DeGeneres was the #1 choice for the part, which probably would have turned Speed into some kind of weird oddball cop buddy movie. Then the character changed yet again, making her an everyday average passenger and love interest to the Jack character, and Sandra Bullock was cast thanks to her amazing chemistry with Keanu Reeves when she auditioned for the role. Number 2. Script rewrites from a Marvel extraordinaire. The script is credited as being written by Graham Yost, who also wrote other action movies such as Broken Arrow, Hard Rain, and Mission to Mars. However, Yost claims that none other than Joss Whedon helped with screenwriting, and despite his efforts, he was uncredited. It is claimed that 98.9% of the dialogue was rewritten by the Buffy creator, who is more recently best well known for his work in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Actor Keanu Reeves in particular didn't like the way the Jack Travis character was originally written, and originally he didn't even want to take the role, thanks to the fact that the character often spouted off one-liners, making him feel more like a John McClane clone. So thankfully Whedon toned the character down, making him more human, which is one of the most appealing aspects of the Jack Travis character, and thus is what caused Keanu Reeves to get on board.
This probably explains why the dialogue in Speed does have a witty sharpness about it.
So, before we get to number 1, here is a bonus fact. A fan is trying to break a Speed VHS record. Movie fan Ryan Beats from Moscow is such a huge fan of Speed that he's trying to collect every single copy of Speed's VHS releases. The strange obsession started when Beats purchased a few Speed VHS copies to give to members of his family and friends. But he was then fascinated with owning several different copies of the same movie, and thus the collecting obsession grew from there. He got up to 500 copies when he started a GoFundMe to continue his Speed VHS quest, proving that once you think you've heard it all, along comes someone from Moscow with a Speed VHS collection. Seriously though, what a legend. Number 1. Original title and plot. As with most movies, there were many significant changes made to the story of Speed throughout its early production, such as the movie was originally going to be called Minimum Speed. I am so glad they dropped the word minimum, as just simply calling it Speed has more of a punch. In the original script, the bus must maintain a speed of 20 miles per hour, until one of scriptwriter Graham Yost's friends, probably Joss Whedon, insisted it should be 50 miles per hour. In the original script, the entire movie's story takes place on the bus, with no elevator scene at the start of the movie. The Harry Temple character, who was Jack's ill-fated partner at the FBI, was to be revealed as the main villain in the original script. There was to be a sequence of the bus driving around a sports stadium, and the movie's climax would see the bus crashing into the Hollywood sign and completely destroying it. I don't know if that would have been some kind of commentary on the Hollywood film industry, or if Yost just thought that it would have looked great on film. Oh well, it's an interesting idea. But I'm glad the changes were made and we got the film that we ended up with.
Well guys, that was my look into Speed. It's a wonderfully fun, explosive movie from the 90s. So pop quiz. You've just watched a top 10 Minty video and you notice there's a thumbs down button and a thumbs up button. What do you do? What do you do?